The San Francisco Giants made a wild and crazy move last night, inexplicably signing shortstop Carlos Correa to a 13-year deal worth $350 million. Whoa! This is flat out absurd. And I want it on record, I love Carlos Correa. I think he is a dynamite player. And a lot of these contracts on the screen, they're crazy. The Judge contract, crazy. Trey Turner, crazy. Bogart's crazy. Nimmo, out of control. Jacob deGrom, are you kidding me? But Carlos Correa, and I want to stress, he's a stud. Never needed to cheat with the Astros in the first place. Former first-round pick. The guy was unbelievable. Bet on himself in Minnesota last year. He is a great ball player, but come on. When I saw the reports last night that the Mets might sign him to play third base, it made sense. He can't stay healthy. He's got a back injury. He's not a great defensive player. I mean, and he's not one of those big-name players. I mean, are kids rushing out today telling mom and dad, buy me a Carlos Correa jersey? This doesn't move the meter for the Giants at all in terms of the division. Still the Padres and the Dodgers. And listen, he wasn't even a top 4 shortstop in this free agent class. It was Turner, Bogarts, and Dansby Swanson, then Carlos Correa. And you look at the highest paid contracts, richest contracts in baseball history, Trout, Betts, Judge, Carlos Correa. Which one doesn't belong? Trout, Betts, Judge, Carlos Correa. I know the Giants are desperate. They threw all that money at Judge, and he said, you know what, I'm going to stay with the New York Yankees, which made sense in order to win. Even when you start talking about the wild card with the Giants, I mean, you have in whatever order the Mets, the Braves, and the Phillies, plus, as we mentioned, the Padres and the Dodgers, the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, we're talking at what, the 8th best team in the National League? The San Francisco Giants should already have buyer's remorse. I'm a big Carlos Correa fan. He is an excellent player. He can help teach the Giants how to win, but they don't have enough players to get it done. This contract is Looney Tunes. We all got to witness another epic chapter in the Celtics-Lakers rivalry last night, and it was my guy Jason Tatum who shined the brightest. 44 points in Boston's epic overtime win. And listen, this game was all Boston early, and it was all Jason Tatum early. And at one point, you had the Celtics in the third quarter up by 20. Lakers had an 18-0 run at one point in the fourth. They were up, the Lakers were, by 13. Jason Tatum made sure they won this game. And which is not a surprise because Boston's the best team in the NBA. Tatum, to me, is the front runner for a league MVP. And with all that said, this is why, even as they lose in overtime, as Anthony Davis misses a couple of free throws and the regulation, up by 2 points, and he missed those shots and set up the Tatum in LeBron's face, 17-foot away, dagger jump shot at the end of regulation to force overtime. The Lakers showed last night they have the ability to be great. Russ put up those numbers off the bench. He scored the first 4 points in overtime. Lakers are up by 4, just like they were up 13 in the fourth quarter and still managed to lose. Look, Anthony Davis is on fire. LeBron James is playing great. Darvin Ham has these guys playing defense. Now, if this, in terms of Davis missing the free throws, sounds familiar, that's because AD just did the exact same thing Friday night against Philadelphia. I couldn't believe it. 28 seconds to go, up by 2, just hit 1. Should have hit 2, to be honest with you. Missed them both to set up that aforementioned jumper, which was awesome. Tatum backing down, LeBron James, bam, hits the jumper right in his face. Look, the Lakers, when you look at the landscape of the Western Conference, they should be a playoff team, not a play-in, playoff. They're that good. We've said that. If you can compete, have a chance to beat the Boston Celtics, you should be able to compete with anyone, beat anyone. West is weird, right? Pelicans, they could absolutely win a championship this year. They lost. They got smoked by the Utah Jazz last night. I picked the Clippers, who beat the Celtics the other night, to win the Western Conference preseason. I still believe that's going to be the case. Denver's good, but they're not great. Memphis, the same. Really good, but not great. Mavericks have Luka, but at the end of the day, I don't fully trust them. Last night, albeit in a loss, even more proof the LA Lakers should be a playoff team. Not a dry eye in the house. How about it? My guy, Alex Ovechkin, 800 goals. We did it. Bag it, Sidney Crosby. Alex Ovechkin is a Mount Rushmore NHL player. And I was so happy for my guy Ovechkin to have that moment on national TV on ESPN last night. I was locked into it because, forever on Time to Shine, I've been stressing how I'm obsessed with Alexander Ovechkin. We are talking about an all-timer. 800 career goals. My goodness. So when you start talking about the best players in the sport, it's Gretzky, draw a line, right? He's clearly number one. Then you have guys like Orr and Lemieux and Gordie Howe and my guy, Alexander Ovechkin. And the numbers are unbelievable. And you look at the rankings, and by the way, he is an ox. He's going to play forever. He's going to ultimately have the most goals in the history of the National Hockey League when it's all said and done. Greatest athlete in DC sports ever, including the Redskins and the Bullets and the Wizards and, the Nationals and the Senators. Anyone else you want to throw at me? And let me tell you something. I've said this forever. Alexander Ovechkin is better than Sidney Crosby. They're both in their 18th year. Ovechkin has played 168 more games. 168 more games because Crosby can't stay healthy. And I know Crosby has 3 championships. I get it. And Ovechkin has 1. But Ovechkin is Clayton Kershaw. Ovechkin is Peyton Manning. I'm not going to walk up to Peyton Manning and say, nice little career in Indianapolis. You should have won more Super Bowls. I'm not going to walk up to Kershaw and say, yeah, you put up all these numbers, won all these Cy Youngs, but, let's take a look at how the team performed in the postseason. Alexander Ovechkin is an all-timer, and I know Crosby could do more on the ice. In the NBA, it's okay to stress the positive on a bucket getter, right? How about the greatest goal scorer ever? And that's what he's going to be when it's all said and done. And the injuries factor in here with the Crosby-Ovechkin comparison. You look at the MVPs, that's season domination, that's Ovechkin. The hat trick last night, the theater for the moment, the theatrics, the dramatic 800 career goals. We are talking about a living legend, and I think to a lot of people, he's actually underrated. Welcome back, Time to Shine. Some midweek musings for you on a Wednesday. Sean Payne reportedly interested in making a comeback if he's able to coach one of the Los Angeles teams. That according to the NFL Network. But let me tell you what I'm thinking on this Wednesday. The New Orleans Saints need to do anything and everything to get Sean Payton back. And I want to give the great Jeff Duncan from the New Orleans Times-Picayune credit. He had a sizzling informational opinion piece in the newspaper over the weekend. I talked to Jeff Duncan on my SiriusXM radio show today. And he paints the picture, and I agree with him, the time is now for New Orleans. Because, and I'm going to speak here, my words, Dennis Allen can't coach his way out of a paper bag. If you wait on Sean Payton, then next offseason, we're talking about maybe the Cowboys, the Rams, the Chargers getting involved. Even though I think Chargers would be the perfect opportunity for Sean Payton because of Herbert, but the Spanos family historically doesn't pay. Saints are a disaster. Absolute mess. Dennis Allen, look at what he did with the Raiders. Look at what he's doing now. Dennis Allen can't coach his way out of a paper bag. He is a terrible, terrible head coach. Sean Payton, we showed you his resume on the screen. Sean Payton, to me, is a Hall of Famer. I know what happened with Bountygate. In terms of that year-long suspension, that was always a joke and way over the top. Sean Payton will be in Canton one day. His playbook, his energy, the way he galvanizes a team. Sean Payton is a genius and a master motivator. He's Bill Parcells, but even better when it comes to running an offense. I think Sean Payton would change everything going back to New Orleans. And look, the Saints, we showed you the numbers and how bad they are. They're even worse if you consider they don't have a quarterback, worse for the future, and they don't have their first-round pick this year. They traded it away to the Philadelphia Eagles. That's crazy. Sean Payton would change everything. And if you mess around, if you're New Orleans, he's going to end up coaching one of the Los Angeles teams if Sean McVay takes a TV job, or if the Chargers say, Brandon Staley, hit the road. And what an upgrade that would be for the Chargers. I had this thought watching Daniel Jones and the Giants get destroyed by the Eagles on Sunday. Giants aren't going to win again this season. And if you remember, the first time we said this was after the Giants lost to the Lions before the Thanksgiving game against the Dallas Cowboys. And by the way, we are on track to being correct. And they tied against Washington. They have Washington again coming up on Sunday night. And listen, I think the Giants are going to lose that game by double digits. I think Brian Daboll did an unbelievable job beginning of the season getting this squad to overachieve. They don't have the requisite talent. Dave Gettleman, the old general manager, ran that team into the ground. I mean, you take a look at these remaining schedules here. I mean, I think the Lions, we've talked about this, are going to win out. I think that San Francisco could actually, Seattle could actually lose out as well. And that includes the Rams game, by the way. And you look at the Giants, Washington, loss. At Minnesota, loss. Indianapolis on CBS, honestly, that's the one maybe they could win. We'll see if Philly has anything to play for. But you know that they would love to stick it to the New York Football Giants. So the prediction stands. I think the Giants, at the end of the day, are going to miss the playoffs. The only hope maybe that they would have is that Seattle's schedule is pretty difficult as well down the stretch. Love Detroit making the postseason. We'll see if there's another team in the NFC that could run the table. Maybe the Green Bay Packers, if you check their schedule, sneak into the playoffs. But the Giants' offensive line is terrible. They have no wide receivers. Saquon's hit the wall. Daniel Jones has hit the wall. The defense, they don't have any dudes. I think Brian Daboll has done a Herculean job with this team. I mean, really, just an unbelievable coaching job. But I don't expect the Giants to win another game the rest of the season. With a quarter of the NFL season left, I was thinking, Baker Mayfield is going to prove he's unequivocally an NFL starter. And I mentioned how the Rams would have a chance beating the Seattle Seahawks. You realize the Rams were that close to beating Seattle a few weeks ago with a bunch of no-names and never will be at quarterback. I think what Baker did against the Raiders was so inspiring. And that combination with Baker and Sean McVay, that's going to be real and spectacular down the stretch here. Baker Mayfield can play. Look, what he did the other night, that's what I expected to see when he was traded to Carolina. And you look at the schedule, you look at the defenses he's playing. Listen, he's going to prove he could play. You look at the landscape around the league, you look at the teams that are desperate for quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, I don't think he's great. I don't think he'll ever live up to the number one overall pick status. But absolutely, he is in that category of 20 to 32. Before the season started, I said in the offseason he's in that 26 to 32 range. You know, we've seen a couple of guys drop down, a couple of guys move up. Baker Mayfield is absolutely a starting quarterback in the National Football League. And I think working with Sean McVay will solidify that. And assuming Matthew Stafford comes back and he's healthy and ready to go next year, Baker Mayfield will be a starter elsewhere because Sean McVay is going to help him.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.